Michael B. Jordan was playing basketball at a quiet community court just after sunset, the air still warm from the day, the light fading into a soft golden hue that stretched long shadows across the pavement, his movements fluid and focused, his mind locked into the rhythm of the game, the sound of sneakers scraping the asphalt and the steady thump of the ball. The only soundtrack when something just at the edge of his vision, pulled him out of the moment. A figure slouched unnaturally across a bench near the fence. A stillness that didn't match the relaxed posture of someone simply resting. And for a split second, Michael thought maybe it was someone asleep, maybe just tired or drunk or waiting for someone. But no, something wasn't right. The way the man's arm hung limp, the way his chest barely moved. And Michael stopped dribbling, his instincts cutting through the haze of play and adrenaline, his eyes narrowing as he slowly walked toward the bench, heart rate quickening, not from the game, but from something else, something primal that whispered, "Something's wrong, something's not right." And as he got closer, the scene sharpened into terrifying clarity. The man, mid-40s maybe, pale, his shirt damp with sweat though the air wasn't hot anymore, was barely conscious, his eyes fluttering open just slightly at the sound of approaching footsteps, and Michael crouched down, immediately reaching out without hesitation. "Hey, you all right, man? Can you hear me?" he asked, his voice low but firm, and the man gave the faintest nod before letting out a strained whisper. It's bad. I can't breathe right." And those words hit Michael hard because they weren't dramatic. They were desperate, honest, weak, and he didn't wait, didn't stop to ask more questions, didn't look around for help because he knew in that moment it was on him, just him, and he gently helped the man sit up, supporting his weight as best he could, adrenaline flooding his body in waves now, giving him strength and clarity. "All right, I got you. Hang on," Michael said with a calmness that masked the storm inside him, his mind racing through options but landing on one. "Get him to the car, fast. Get him to the hospital. Don't waste a second, because seconds matter." He'd seen it before, heard stories, knew how quickly things could go from bad to worse. So he hoisted the man up, surprised by how light he felt, and half carried, half supported him across the court to where his SUV was parked, opening the door with one hand while the other kept the man from collapsing, laying him gently across the back seat, buckling him in not because of a crash, but to keep him from sliding, from slumping. And then he jumped into the driver's seat, heart hammering, keys already in the ignition, tires screeching as he pulled out, one hand gripping the wheel, the other dialing 911 on speaker, telling the dispatcher the symptoms, giving the address, saying he was on the way, yes, doing what he could. Yes, he'd be there in 5 minutes tops. Just please be ready, and behind him, he could hear the man's breathing shallow, uneven, like each inhale was a mountain to climb. And Michael kept glancing in the rearview mirror, his jaw clenched, willing the man to hold on, willing time to bend just a little in his favor, because something about this moment felt bigger than just one act of kindness. Something about it felt like the start of something unexpected, something important. And though Michael didn't know this man, didn't know his name or story or why he'd collapsed on that bench tonight, there was a feeling in his gut he couldn't shake, like fate had turned a page, and this was the first line of a new chapter. And maybe he couldn't explain it yet, but there was more coming. Something that would change both their lives in ways neither of them could imagine right now. So don't look away. Don't stop reading, because this story, it's only just beginning. And what's coming next, you won't want to miss. They stood just outside the restaurant, the soft buzz of the city night around them, distant traffic blending into quiet background noise. The man looked at Michael, his expression calm but full of something deeper. Respect, gratitude, maybe even a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. "You saved my life, Michael," he said quietly. No drama in his voice, just truth. "I didn't just come back to thank you. I came back because something about that moment, it changed everything." Michael looked at him, taking in the sincerity, the emotion. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "the right people show up when you need them most. I didn't plan on being there that day. I just was." The man nodded. Well, I'm glad you were, and I don't want this to be a one-time thing. Let's make a promise. Every month we meet here, catch up. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just two people making sure the world doesn't feel so distant. Michael extended his hand with a faint grin. You've got a deal. They shook on it. The moment simple but firm. No grand gestures. No spotlight. Just understanding. As the man walked away into the dark, blending with the city's rhythm, Michael stood there for a few more seconds, watching. Not out of worry, just reflection. Something rare had happened. Something real. He hadn't just stepped in to help that day on the bench. He'd stepped into a connection that neither of them had seen coming. And as the door to the restaurant swung closed behind him and the cool night breeze brushed past, Michael smiled to himself, knowing this wasn't an ending. It was the start of something quietly important. They stood just outside the restaurant, the quiet hum of the city settling around them like a soft blanket. Streetlights flickered above, casting a warm glow on the sidewalk, and the occasional car passed by with a distant whoosh. The world felt slower in that moment, more intimate, like time had taken a brief pause to let something meaningful unfold. The man looked at Michael, his expression calm but layered with unspoken emotion. Relief, gratitude, a deep sense of respect. You saved my life, Michael, he said, his voice even. Not dramatic, just honest. I didn't just come back to thank you. I came back because something about that moment, it changed everything for me. Michael studied him, not looking away. He wasn't the kind of person who needed constant praise or recognition. He hadn't done what he did for that. But something about the way this man was speaking told him this was more than just a thank you. Sometimes, Michael said after a brief pause, the right people show up when you need them most. I didn't plan on being there that day. I wasn't supposed to even be playing at that court. I just showed up, like something was telling me I had to be there. The man smiled a little crookedly, like he'd been thinking the same thing, but didn't know how to say it out loud. I felt that too. Even when I was lying there, barely able to breathe, something in me said, hold on, someone's coming. I thought I was hallucinating or desperate, but then you were there. And now, he glanced around them, then back to Michael. Now I don't want this to be some random event that fades away. I want it to mean something. I want to stay connected. So here's what I'm thinking. We make this a thing. Every month. We meet right here. Maybe we shoot some hoops first. Then come back, sit down, have a meal. Talk about life. Nothing forced, just real. Michael didn't respond immediately. He looked at the man, really looked, and saw not just someone who had recovered from a close call, but someone who had come back with a new purpose. Someone who didn't want to fall through the cracks again. And maybe, without realizing it, Michael needed this too. A break from the noise. A real human connection that wasn't tied to expectations or fame. He slowly extended his hand with a faint, genuine smile. You've got a deal. The man grinned and shook it, the handshake firm but not performative. There was something grounding about it, something that said they both understood what was really happening here. No press, no cameras, just two people who had crossed paths at the right time. They stood there for another moment, neither of them rushing off. The man eventually glanced down the street. Well, I should get going, he said, almost reluctantly, but I'll see you next month. Same spot? Michael nodded. Same spot. The man gave a small wave and turned, walking off into the city. Michael watched him go, his figure slowly blending into the blur of movement and shadow until he was gone. But the feeling he left behind stayed. Michael remained standing for a little while longer, letting the cool night air wash over him. He thought about how strange it all was, that a casual game of basketball led to this moment, that a stranger in need became someone important without warning. It was rare, in a world that often moved too fast, to stumble upon something that felt this real. He didn't know what the future held or how long these meetings would last, but something in his gut told him they weren't done. This wasn't just about helping someone once. It was about showing up, again and again, about being a constant in a world full of unpredictability. He turned, finally heading toward his car, but his mind was still back on the court, on the bench, on the hospital, on the laughter during the game. on the stories exchanged at dinner. It was all connected now. That moment had changed something for both of them. And as he drove away, the quiet echo of that handshake lingered with him. A reminder that sometimes the most unexpected moments lead to the most meaningful ones. This wasn't an ending. This was the start of something rare, something good, something worth showing up for.